All right. Hey, everyone. Jammer here from Jammer's Wrestling Magazine Collection. And you may notice right now, and no, your eyes don't perceive you here. There's no magazines in front of me or you right now, as of yet, because today's video, I want to talk about the first magazine that ever came out for said magazine, right? I don't have the first for the wrestler or inside wrestling or anything. That's like back in the 60s, and I just don't have them. But I am lucky enough to have this. This is the original right there. And you can tell it's the original because, down at the bottom, there's a barcode for the pricing of it and whatnot. And this is I've never read this because it is kind of, it's got some damage to it, right? So I haven't really looked through this because I don't really want to get it destroyed. But I do own the first Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which is very cool. But luckily, I think it was in, I don't know, maybe the late 2000s. They released a special that came with this. So this is a reissue. They got rid of the barcode at the bottom. It says Special Replica Edition, and it's smaller too. But the pages are much brighter, and that probably just comes from being a newer magazine, or maybe it's the different paper font too now. I don't know. The font for the words do look different than the original, so it's possible that this is like an entirely new style of font and everything they did for this. So this is the remake, and if I'm going to read it, I'm going to read this one just because if I'm going to destroy a book over time, I'd rather it be this one than that one. Not that I destroy these, but what if something happens, water spills on it or food or something? I'd rather have this one get damaged. So yes, I do have the replica of it, which is nice to know. Now, I also have another magazine for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I showed it the other day when I was doing a video, but I'll go into greater detail now. This is the first ever Pro Wrestling Illustrated annual. And like I said a few days ago, this is pretty much if you missed out on the magazines beforehand, you get the articles now, the main important ones. So see, there's like the various magazines there. So this is kind of neat to have and own. I don't look at it because what's the point? I already read the articles in the magazines I have. So it's like, well, there it is, right? It's just for the collection. The same being said for this one here, which I showed the other day about the Wrestling USA. Again, I don't need to read any of these. I'm either going to read them or I have read them, depending where I'm at right now with reading. I still need to read some of the Inside Wrestling and Wrestler ones, so I probably haven't read everything in here yet, but I'm going to, and so that's why it's not that big of a deal if I don't look at that magazine, and that's okay. It's just to have in the collection. Now, another oldie but a goodie here for these old magazines I have the first of is in 1983. Stanley Weston and Bill Apter and them wanted to compete with the main event wrestling. And for those of you who don't remember what the main event wrestling was, I'll see if I can find. Yeah, this is it here. Right? This style of magazine that had all the well, this one's a bad example. They got better in time, but there's more. There was more color. There you go. There's some more color. They wanted to compete with it, so they invented this. Wrestling 83, Winter 83, Hulk Hogan on the cover. This is the first one. They would do these quarterly. So winter, spring, summer, fall, that kind of stuff. But this is the first one. Back here, it's all the pages are glossy, and they give you some more colored photos than you'd get in Sports Review Wrestling or Inside Wrestling or anything like that. But this is the first one. Hulk Hogan is on the cover. Now, in 1993, that changed over. They still kept wrestling with the year behind it. So Wrestling 93, this is spring of 93, it became a Rule Breaker magazine. So the storyline behind the magazine with a bad attitude, the storyline behind this, and by the way, they lost the glossy photo paper. It's now paper, like newsprint style paper. The storyline behind this was, if I can remember here, is Eddie Elner. If anyone ever remembers the old, reading the PWI, Eddie Elner was like the heel, right? Column. What's the word I'm looking for? Columnist. There it is. Columnist. He wrote. He always sided with the heel, the bad guy, the villain. So now an entire magazine. Oh, look at that. Look at Randy Savage there, bloody mess. Entire magazine about the villain, the heels, the bad guys, and you get a lot of cool posters in here, which is neat. Razor, that's not Razor Ramon. I like how they call him Razor Ramon, but that's definitely the Diamond Stud gimmick. Shawn Michaels, and then interview with Big Van Vader. So this was kind of neat. This lasted a few issues, and then it lasted all through 1993, and then I believe in 1994 they just cut it out altogether. And I want to say they started a magazine just called like Wrestling Rule Breaker or something. So I know I had one when I was a kid. King Kong Bundy was on the cover, but I have yet to come across that in my eBay browsings, because I'd like to own that again. Like I said, I'm trying to own all the magazines I owned as a kid or teenager too. So if I can find that, I would definitely get it. Another new one that came out that I have the first issue of course, I talked about this in the Sports Review Wrestling video, is this Wrestle America. This is the first, August 1992. So it's neat. Like I said, these magazines were cool because they gave us, besides cool posters, which, I'm all for, they gave us like sections. Like the first section was on WCW, the next section, the WWF, and the last section was the Independents. So that kind of gave you an easy way to tell where you want to read in that magazine, right? What your favorite place is. Either if you're a WCW guy, you're going to want to read the beginning of the magazine right off the bat. So that's another one. Of course, with WCW, let me just bring this up now. This is the first ever issue of the WCW magazine that came out in November 1991. Now, these were also done by Bill Apter and Stanley Weston and them. But look at that. Look at this. Everything was like a glossy paper. There's like so many, like just everything's color. Like it's just constantly colored photos. It's so cool. And these were $3.95 Canadian back then, so that makes sense. And with all the color in it, you'd want to, let me move these up. You want to show that the best, right? You want to get that color print out there. They're going to be a little more expensive, which then brings us up to this WCW magazine. This is the first issue. This was the newer style ones. This was March 95. These ones too, there's a sweet photo or poster of Sting, but all these were colored too, each page, and it was like a glossy kind of paper, right? So these were $4.95 Canada, and look how much bigger, right? Like that's ridiculous, the size difference there, but got it. Also, another first I have, and I don't, it's neat to have a first for a WWF magazine. I got the first Monday Night, well, it's not Monday Night Raw, first WWF Raw magazine. These magazines were cool because they, not only did they give you like pretty amazing posters in the middle, like the one here of Sonny, it kind of broke kayfabe at a time period in the WWF that they didn't really do that on television. In the second edition of these, there's an article with Vince McMahon talking about Diesel leaving to go to WCW, and they actually say Kevin Nash, right? They don't say They say Diesel too, but they let everyone know that yeah, he's played by Kevin Nash, and he is going to the the rival company WCW. They even have the words WCW and World Championship Wrestling in print in a WWF Raw magazine. And it's just kind of neat that they kind of wanted to break that fourth wall down at a time when the WWF pretty much refused to do that with any other wrestling company. Uh, I mean, even Vince was working with the USWA at the time, and he still didn't mention them on his TV, but he would show up at the Memphis shows because of the ongoing feud, with Jerry Lawler and Bret Hart and whatnot. But yeah, I thought it was kind of neat to show these off. These are the first issues. I think that's all I have for first issues. If I have any other ones, my mind's drawn a blank. But like I said, I don't think I'll ever have first issues of Inside Wrestling or The Wrestler or Sports Review Wrestling and whatnot, because I just don't want to collect magazines from back in the 60s and 70s and all that. I don't even know when Sports Review Wrestling came out. I want to say The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling, I think were 1964 or 65 in that area. That's way before my time. I know of the wrestlers then, but I never saw them wrestle or compete in that era, so I have no interest in those. It's just neat that I have these ones. It's something I thought I probably never would have had as a kid or a teenager, because at the time, if you missed out on a magazine, you could either order it from the magazine, get order back issues, or hope that maybe someone was selling them at a yard sale. And nowadays with the internet, with eBay and Marketplace and Kijiji and things like that, I guess in the States there's Craigslist. I guess you can buy old magazines that people are getting rid of a lot easier. So if it wasn't for that, I definitely wouldn't have any of these, that's for sure. So it's just kind of cool that I got them now. I don't know, maybe one day I might change my mind and want to get the first issues of The Wrestler, Inside Wrestling, just to say I have them. I don't know. I mean, I always find when collecting something, you kind of have like a list, like a priority list, right? You're like, well, I need to get this. I have to get this. It'd be nice to get this. Eventually I'll get this. I guess I could get this now because I got all these. You kind of go down that list because as a collector, you're always wanting to collect. You never really stop. And you always find in your mind, you think, oh, I'm done. But then you'll always find another reason to continue on. Like, for example, with my WWF magazines, I only have a certain era. I might want to get the earlier ones or the later ones one day. Especially with the Raw ones. I only have until like January 1998. I went up to there. Maybe I'll get the other ones down the road. I doubt it, but never say never when it comes to collecting. So yeah, this is it. This is the first. If any of you out there have any of these, let me know. Or if you let me know if anyone actually owns Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler too. If you guys have any magazines from that era, that's kind of cool. That is cool to have. But yeah, this is it. So I guess I'm done for the day. I don't know what else to say with this. I know it's a shorter video than the last few ones, but I just wanted to kind of go over these, and I guess I'll talk to you later.